Welcome to Crypto Kid Podcast. This is Sunny speaking, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Richard, and he is the founder and CEO of altFINS. So, Mr. Richard, why don't you give a quick presentation about how you got started in the industry and what possessed you to go forward in this crazy bearish market?
Hey, thanks, Sunny. Thanks for having me. Sure. So we got started actually building altFINS in 2018, which was also a bear market, but it was a couple of cycles back. And what got us started really, we launched in August 2020, but what got us started on this project was really my frustration at the time. So my background is in the financial sector. I worked on Wall Street for close to 20 years. Spent a good portion of that as an equity research analyst. I basically advised pension funds and other institutional investors which technology companies to invest into. And so I was used to having access to quality information, data, analytics, and having access to Bloomberg and other Capital IQ tools to analyze trends and analyze these various assets. And when I got started in crypto, obviously none of this was really existent. It was early, and basically I determined that this asset class, the digital asset class, was going to be around. It's going to grow to be a large portion of the asset managers' allocations over time, and that a tool or tools that would help them with that investment decision and the entire workflow will be needed. And so that's kind of what got me started with my team of developers, is to build, let's call it Bloomberg of crypto. Obviously, that's a very aspirational goal to become that, because Bloomberg is obviously very well established over the last 30 years. But yeah, basically it's a platform that gathers data. It calculates over 100 different analytics, and has on-chain data, technically analytics data, news reports. So it's really almost one-stop shop when it comes to the pre-trade analysis of over 3,000 cryptocurrencies. But yeah, the genesis of that was around the frustration that the data and information was very fragmented and scattered around. And I wanted to build a tool for myself and others in my position to have one single platform where they can get to that information at the timely manner.
Okay. Sounds very interesting. Now, would you say we're going into a bull market now?
I think that we are actually. If I think the worst is behind us, last year was brutal, right? But when I look at the cycles of the crypto industry or Bitcoin specifically, we've gone through three of these, and they were very similar. They last about 4 years. The bear market lasts about 1 to 2 years. There's typically a drawdown of 70 to 90% that we've seen in the price cycles, and we've reached that in this cycle sometime in the second half of 2022. Bitcoin was down 70 to 80% from its peak of 68,000. And so but not only that, that's obviously just looking at the pattern of cycles repeating, but there's other reasons why all risk assets, not just crypto but equities, tech stocks, are, I think, going to be have already sort of bounced off the bottom. And the primary reason for that on the macro level, of course, is the inflation data and the interest rates. The Fed and other central banks, when they begin to raise interest rates in late 2021, that was the end of the bull market. And they continued raising the interest rates to fight inflation throughout 2022, and that just kept pressure on valuations of risk assets. And of course, compounding that in crypto, where some number of these rogue rogue founders and projects, and a lot of them were centralized, frankly, such as FTX, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, and others that basically did not have the right risk management in place and have folded and went bankrupt, and that obviously created additional pressure on the prices of cryptocurrencies because there were some forced sellers and so on. So, but we think that that's already been absorbed. And I think that now that inflation has tapered off, or beginning to decline, and the central banks have indicated that they're going to slow their interest rate increases, or maybe even pause them, then I think that's really what also contributed to the recent bullish sentiment and beginning of the new bull market, in my opinion.
Oh yes, that would be very good. A lot of people have lost their butts on the market, and there's just a lot of negative feedback because there's no transparency since what happened with FTX. Everybody trusted them and they flopped, and things going on. And so with that being said, what's different with altFINS compared to other companies that are like compared to your competitors?
Sure. I think one thing is, like I said, that we have competitors in each one of our sort of sections or content that we have on our platform, but no one's got the whole enchilada, if you will, right? We have a platform that ingests price data from 30 exchanges. We calculate analytics, and based on that, basically we have, I think, one of the best crypto screeners where users can quickly screen and scan the market and find coins that are breaking out of certain chart patterns, find coins that are in an uptrend or have just began their uptrend. They can find coins that have a strong uptrend or downtrend and change in trends, right? We also have an automated chart pattern recognition. So our system automatically detects if this is trading in a rising wedge or a channel down, and there's basically 16 of these commonly traded patterns that the system recognizes. And we have proprietary research on coins. We have news from over 5,000 different coins. We have basically, it's kind of cover the entire pre-trade analysis workflow. That's kind of where we really focused on. A lot of platforms are focused on the trading itself, trade execution, right, exchanges, and so on. But really, we ask ourselves the question: well, that's great. I know where to buy and sell it, but what should I be buying and selling, and why? What should be my strategy in this market? And so that's kind of where our platform really excels. Really, is on the, like I said, the pre-trade analytics and analysis side, and basically helping traders quickly find trading ideas, and really save a lot of time doing so, because we surface the interesting trading ideas right in our platform without much work for the trader to do.
Okay, so what is the plans for the future? Is there going to be like any news coming out, like any events that you guys are going to be dropping here shortly? Okay, can you share?
Yeah, good question. So we talked briefly about last year and how there's been a lot of defaults from some of the centralized exchanges and centralized lending platforms like BlockFi and Celsius. Of course, some of the investment funds folded as well. And I think that led us to the belief that in this market, at this time when it's under-regulated and there's not enough oversight, unfortunately, we cannot count on the industry to self-regulate efficiently, and that the users will really need to learn and take ownership of their own assets more and more. So self-custody with their own digital wallets, and also trade through decentralized exchanges where possible, because that's really how you eliminate the counterparty risk. I mean, if FTX is able to fold, which was a number 2 or number 3 exchange, and who can you trust, right? I mean, that's the industry biggest problem right now is the credibility. And so So what we are launching and have been building in the last few months is a DEX aggregator, which is basically like a search engine for the best price across multiple DEX, decentralized exchanges. So through our platform, you'll be able to find the best price for trading across Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, and other 20 other decentralized exchanges, and trade as well, and therefore get the best execution, because if for some tokens and coins, the best execution may be on SushiSwap, and others may be somewhere else, or a combination thereof. And so that's what we're launching, because we do think that decentralized or trading through decentralized exchanges will continue to gain market share. And we think that we need to contribute to that. And frankly, that's kind of our bet is that this will be the future for many and increasingly more users. Of course, we also support connectivity to the existing centralized exchanges. So users can come to our platform and connect to Binance and Bitfinex and Bittrex and so forth to see the entire portfolio in one place. But I think our focus will be really on the decentralized exchange and the decentralized sort of ecosystem, because I think, again, users will want to be increasingly more in control, so they don't have that counterparty risk. And so that's where we also, the second thing that we're also going to be rolling out is enhanced education. We already have an education course meant for traders that teaches them from very basics of technical analysis to more advanced techniques and trading strategies, as well as risk management strategies. But we are going to further enhance it and break it down to create a learn and earn program out of it, so that we incentivize the users, the traders, to learn, and through our token, which we have called altFINS, we can also incentivize them to basically learn how to use our platform and generally learn how to trade safely as well. So that's another major initiative that we have this year.
Wow. Wow, that's some big stuff. We need education. And that leads me to my next question. Do you feel like there's a lack of education when it comes to trading in the crypto space?
Yes, there is, but I don't think it's necessarily unique to crypto space. I come from the background, again, of traditional finance sector, and education is lacking, for traders in equities as well, right? And so I think it's I wouldn't single out crypto as the only sort of asset class that could use more education. And so, but yes, there is. We get questions certainly, and we help. We are very happy to answer questions in our Telegram channel, Discord channel. But clearly, it demonstrates to me that users are often struggling with simple things. What's a limit order? What's a stop loss order? Right? These are some basic techniques for managing your risk. How to sort of what position size should I have if I have a portfolio of $5,000? What should my position size be? $2,000 each? Well, there is an answer to that we teach in the lessons as well. It's a pretty sort of well accepted percentage of your equity value that you should be putting at risk for each trade. So all these are sort of basic things that I think a lot of the traders are not aware of, that I think could make them a lot more profitable and confident in their trading if they take their time to learn it. And so we need to provide that content, obviously, in a very easily ingestible format. And that's kind of the next version of our education, is more sort of a bite-sized content with 5-7 minute videos. Right now it's an hour long sort of lessons webinar, and I get that that's kind of too long for a lot of people. So I think we need to really break it down into shorter video segments and quizzes, and incentivize people to kind of continue to learn better.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll put the links to your Telegram and Discord in the description, so people could find a way to get to you and learn how to use the platform. So tell us about your team and who's involved and what hats do they wear?
Yeah, well, we're still a small, lean team. We have done a couple of seed rounds, and I mentioned that only to show that we are still, in a startup phase. But we have basically myself. We have a marketing person, an operations manager, who's also, bit of a commercial office or a commercial sort of revenue officer, and in charge of business development and partnerships. We have 4 developers, a CTO, and we have also a couple of research analysts who write in-depth research for our platform, where we actually identify certain undervalued, under the radar coins that we think have a big potential upside as well. So we have a research team as well. So that's kind of us, I'll add it all up, maybe 10 people or so.
Amazing, amazing. So what do you see, what inspires you to what gives you inspiration every day, and how do you give your team inspiration to keep pushing forward?
Well, I mean, I get excited with working on sort of the new features and making the platform just easier and easier. That's one of our kind of challenges, is that we have a lot of data, and sometimes it can be overwhelming for the new user. Like, where do I start? There's all these analytics. Which analytics should I be paying attention to? So, now that we have a lot of this content, we need to kind of make it easier to understand, to ingest, to learn how to use. But we're in a very uncharted territory in the crypto space in general. The users are also, giving us a lot of feedback and encouragement, and it feels like still that the community overall in crypto is so small that anyone who is in it feels somewhat connected instantly to the other person who has similar interests. I kind of compared to, when I had a dog and I take it out for a walk. Well, when you meet another person walking a dog, you instantly feel like, hey, we're friends. The dogs are sniffing each other, and we kind of strike up a conversation. Hey, what's the name of the dog? And so I feel like the community in crypto is also still in that early stage, and relatively small, that everyone's very interested in helping one another and learning from another. And so that kind of really, I always was interested in emerging technologies. When I worked on Wall Street, I used to always be interested in the smaller companies, and those who are just emerging with something disruptive. And so, my passion was always something, what's new, what's on the cutting edge. And I feel like, being at the cutting edge of this new asset class is also in the process.
All right, all right. So how do we get mass adoption towards this industry?
Good question.
Yeah.
I guess I hate to say this, but I think regulation will actually help in this. I used to think that it will hinder more than help, but unfortunately, after last year's debacles and fiascos, I have come to the agreement that appropriate regulation will help bring back credibility and trust, and therefore adoption, both for the institutional investors, who also need obviously more guidelines because they're under a lot of scrutiny more than anything, but also on the retail investor side. So I think that's going to help us. And the user experience. I have to say that as long as you're sort of dealing with one layer one protocol like Ethereum, right, and you have your wallet and you're transacting, it's okay. Still far from being particularly user friendly. But as soon as you need to deal with multiple layer one networks, and God forbid even use bridges, good Lord, it becomes a test to your technical capabilities. So again, usability, ease of use, we're still far from the ease of use that we have in Web 2.0. Web 3.0 is not there yet, but that's going to help as well. It really needs to be seamless for the users. They can't be thinking about which layer one network or layer two network am I on, and am I on the right one, or will I send these tokens to some black hole and I won't be able to crawl them back, So that scares the bejesus out of me still, when I do transactions on different networks. It's nerve-wracking still.
So do you think that there's already a global regulation frameworks exist or in the making?
Well, in Europe, they've put forward a proposal that looks okay. It basically will force any provider of digital wallet and custody, anyone who's holding custody of assets to register and regularly report, and of course do their KYC AML. So that was proposed. It's going through some final approvals. It probably won't go into effect until 2024, which is not far away. And in the US, I think, again, there were some proposals, particularly around stable coins. But I think I would say maybe US is a little further behind Europe right now. And I'm not quite aware of everything that's going on in Asia. I suppose there's different countries have their own sort of regulatory requirements, but I guess everyone's kind of tightening up the screws on the market participants. There needs to be some accountability, some reporting responsibilities, and so I think it's headed in the direction that forex trading is. If you spend some time in forex trading, I was at a Dubai conference late last year. Lots of forex companies at this conference, and boy, they're under a lot of scrutiny, under a lot of reporting requirements, registration requirements in almost every jurisdiction that they're operating in. It's tough for them, and it raises the legal costs tremendously. But at the end of the day, it creates a safer environment for the end users and the traders, and that's why they're able to conduct huge volumes of trading. So I guess that's kind of where we have to get to, I think, at some point.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to get done. There is. Now, what are the crypto policy goals for both financial services and crypto industries?
Financial, you mean sort of the traditional financial area?
Yes.
Well, I think there's been, after the 2008, 2009 the great financial crisis, where lots of the US and worldwide banks were on the brink of folding, and many had folded or had to be forced to be acquired, right? In the US particularly, a lot of new rules were placed in terms of capital requirements that made those institutions far more stable and eliminate sort of the risky investments in their portfolios. So I'd say, on a traditional financial side, I'm not aware of sort of major new regulatory proposals that I would change things. I think, like I said, after the last great financial crisis of 2008-9, that was quite thoroughly revamped. On the crypto side, we're early, as we already mentioned. We're still basically, I think, are at a point where we just kind of need to figure out which oversight agencies actually in charge of centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, and lending platforms. Because in the US, you've got several agencies that could be overseeing them, and so frankly, they're trying to sort it out which one should be in charge. Should it be the Commodities Commission, or should it be the SEC and others? So we've got a lot of wood to chop there to get to that the level of regulations that we need. But I'm hoping that by 2024-25, solid framework will be in place to where, and that should be sort of around the time when the bull market should be raging again, right? And this year, I think the bull market is starting, and just like all the bull markets, they start sort of slow, gradually, and then they boil to a fevering pitch. And I think that fevering pitch will be sometime in 2024 again, which the regulatory framework hopefully will also sort of help with onboarding more retail and institutional investors.
Now, my opinion with why the US hasn't shut down cryptocurrency is because, and you could correct me if I'm wrong and tell me what your feedback is. Like, I believe that the government is going to create their own digital asset here shortly, because if you look at what happened with El Salvador, they're like the testers, and so we're just I believe that they're just trying to figure out how to make this actually work. What do you think? Are you there? Hello?
You know what? There's some. You were cutting out, so I turned off my video so that I would
Oh, you're good.
maybe lower the throughput necessary.
So I
So
was thinking,
is that okay if we do it without the video?
yeah, what anything that works. So going back to my question is, do you think the United States hasn't shut down cryptocurrency because they want to create their own digital asset?
I don't think that's the main reason. I think it's because they do actually care about innovation. I think that
Mhm.
shutting down or restricting the various components of the industry, I think that there is enough sanity among the congressmen and women and around them, the lobby, that they know that there is a lot of potential benefit that these decentralized platforms can bring. And so, I think they're more interested in making sure that people don't get hurt and lose their, monies in the process, more than actually sort of. I don't think they see it at the moment as a threat to the U.S. Dollar. I mean, there's definitely been some calls for or some concerns around stable coins threatening the status of the dollar. And if they come out, and I don't rule out that they will come out with their centralized government or a stable coin, basically centralized currency. On that, I don't think that will change a whole lot for industry. It could actually be positive if you have one, basically call it stable coin, that's completely backed by the government and so on, and therefore you can focus on all the other components of the industry around trading and the applications and so forth. But yeah, right now a lot of the innovations has been focused on the financial sector, right? But more and more when we look at NFTs and Web 3.0, it's expanding into gaming, arts, collectible, into sports, social media, right? And so that's where we're going to see more and more innovation, as well as on the financial side. I think there's financial industry just, it seems so prime for disruption and basically replacement by smart contracts, because a lot of these financial instruments are just very standard contracts essentially. And so that's where the industry began. But we're seeing a lot more now disruption happening in some of the other areas and fields that I mentioned as well. So shutting down crypto would be, wrong. It would be, completely, robbing ourselves of a chance to innovate into, something, and create jobs, frankly, in the U.S. So we would yield potentially this competitive advantage to some other country. So
You're right. 100%, man. 100%. Now, my next question is, as we come to a close, do you feel like there's anything that we haven't shared and that you want to go over? Something that you'd want the public to know, to encourage, maybe something inspirational, maybe something that you felt that needed to be said, go for it.
Thanks. I'd say, don't give up on crypto. There's a lot of sort of shady projects or characters, but at the same time, there's, one of the things that encourages me seeing how many smart people from traditional fields in finance and others, gaming and sports and others, are moving and basically have bet their careers on the leveraging of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. So I'd say I'm quite encouraged despite what happened in terms of the prices last year. But even investments into startups in the space continued. I mean, the amount of money was around $15 billion was committed by VCs to startups in Web 3.0 in 2022. Now it was down from prior year, but still that's a lot of money, and these people are not stupid. They're investing into something they see the future. And so I'd say right now it is time to be allocating something to 5% of your to these beaten down digital assets. Focus on projects like Aave, Balancer, SushiSwap, or not SushiSwap, but Uniswap, and a few others. Ethereum for sure needs to be part of anyone's portfolio. I think if you create a portfolio of 20, 30 of these names, even in the long term, as a long-term investor, I think we're going to do quite well, especially now that we're close to the bottom. I think we've already bounced off to the bottom, but that's okay. I think there's a lot of upside levels. So don't be discouraged by what this down cycle happened or caused. I know a lot of people have lost money, and invest into education. Invest your time into education and learn how to take care of your own digital assets through your own digital wallets. I think that's another lesson we learned last year. You gotta be in charge of your own custody of assets.
Dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to come out on the show. And I know you're a busy guy dealing with blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. And I honestly do wish the best with you and your ventures and your endeavors. And I hope to see you in person here soon at maybe a cryptocurrency event, and so we get time to connect, get some coffee, some tea, or catch a beer. Anything you want, man.
Love to. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. Absolutely. I will let you know if I'm out there on some conference, and we'll connect. And good luck to anyone. Hopefully 2023 will be a much rosier, and I think it will be a year than the last.
All right, dude. Take care, Richard.
Okay. Thanks,
See you,
Sonny.
man.
Cheers.
No problem.